Professor Siphiwo Mahala has launched two powerful books, The Missing Pages and The House of Truths, and Bloke and his American Bantu, two plays. We met at the Joburg City Library to discuss how these texts blend history and storytelling, reincarnating forgotten voices and iconic figures like Sol Plaatje, Ken Themba and Bloke Modisane, revealing the deep bonds, creativity and resilience of black artists under apartheid and in exile.
It is rare that a writer would publish two books at the same time. So it's exciting that I managed to put together this short story collection, Missing Pages, and my plays, the two plays. The Missing Pages, as I say, is a collection of short stories. Perhaps I should talk about the title story to give you a sense of what it's all about. The title story is in response to Sol Plaatje's The Mafeking Diary, which is an account of what was known as the Anglo-Boer War, which makes it the very first account from a black perspective of the Anglo-Boer War, which happened between 1899 and 1902. So Sol Plaatje was a court interpreter at the time. However, the diary was not found until almost 40 years after his passing. It was first published in 1973. So with my interest in history, I tried to reimagine what could have happened, because the interesting thing is that the so-called Anglo-Boer War, by definition, is a war between two groups of European descent. One group being of Dutch origin, the other being of English origin, or part of the British Empire. However, it never said anything about the natives, Africans, in whose land the war was happening. So to try now and correct that omission, Sol Plaatje wrote the Mafeking Diary. However, Plaatje's account had a missing link. In other words, the first few days of the war were not there. By the way, the war now is known as the South African War, to indicate that it was not just between the two European groups that they were in. So it's known as the South African War, and as I say, Sol Plaatje's account did not include the first few days of the war. So I had to reimagine, what could have happened, how he could have lost that information, and what could have been happening during those few days. And I must also say, I wrote the story after being challenged by a Sol Plaatje scholar, Mpho, to whom the collection is dedicated. So it addresses that gap that is there in Sol Plaatje's work. However, metaphorically, it also addresses the gap that exists in the telling of our stories as the South African people.
In a haunting yet deeply human short story titled The Asylum, acclaimed writer Siphiwo Mahala pulls readers into the fractured world of a man grappling with mental illness and identity under apartheid. Told with sharp insights and poetic nuance, the story explores how personal trauma and systemic violence blur the lines between sanity and madness. It's a poignant reminder of how the struggle for dignity and understanding extends far beyond politics into the very soul of a person.
The Asylum is one of the stories that have haunted me for the longest time. I can say it emanates from my childhood traumas. I was born and brought up by a mother who had a mental illness. And so one of my memories of that, of growing up, is the Christmas period, which was a very special moment in my family, like many other families actually in this country. that as children especially, we look forward to Christmas, knowing that there will be all festivities and largely orchestrated by the mother who cooks, brings us new clothes and all of that. I remember this because this particular Christmas, my mother was not home. She was in an asylum, and we had to visit her instead of spending Christmas together. So the keenness on her part to spend Christmas with the family, and our own longing to have our mother with us, as well as my father's dilemma, who had to face this, these forces. On the one hand, there's the law. The law says we can't take her out of the asylum, and on the other hand, as the family, we need her at home. So I wrote the asylum. Interestingly, I wrote it in January this year, trying to explore those dilemmas. But above everything else, it was some form of a catharsis for me. As I say, it's a story that has stayed with me for probably over 40 years, because my mother passed away in 1986. This incident must have happened 2 or 3 years before she passed. So yeah, I think now that I've written about it, I've been able to talk about it and to face some of the traumatic experiences that I went through as a child.
My name is Kentemba.
In this powerful new book, The House of Truth and Bloke and his American Bantu, Siphiwo Mahala brings to life 2 literary giants, Kentemba and Bloke Modisane, capturing their struggles, friendship and creative spirits under apartheid. These plays are more than just performances. They are a tribute to resilience, memory and the enduring power of storytelling.
I declare the House of Truth open! Yes, yes, yes.
The House of Truth, it's a bioplay about the life of Kentemba. When I wrote it, I was researching for my PhD. And, as I was researching, I could see Kentemba's life unfolding before me. And I had to find a way of putting it on the page. And I wrote it, and I thought of someone who could understand what I was trying to do. So I approached Silo Maekangube, a well-known actor, but also someone who starred in Kentemba's The Suit, someone who understood Kentemba very well. So I approached him and said, could you please read this and give me feedback? He read, and instead of a feedback, he said, I want to act in this. I thought he was joking, because this was going to be my very first professional play. And to cut the long story short, the play premiered at the National Arts Festival in Makanda in 2016, and then traveled the whole country with resounding success. Bloke and his American Bantu is a play about Kentemba's contemporary, Bloke Modisane, who also was a journalist working for Drum magazine. Bloke Modisane had a very close relationship with Langston Hughes from the United States of America. He was known as the first black person to take up writing full-time in the whole of America. But my interest in them is from an encounter I had in 2013. Traveling in the US, I came across the correspondence between Langston Hughes and Bloke Modisane. Between 1960 and 1967, they exchanged over 50 letters. And, going through those letters, I could see their lives again unfolding before me. So for that reason, at that very moment, I saw a play And it took another 9 years for me to actually write the play. And what fascinated me about their relationship is that you had two men who loved each other and supported each other no matter what. At the time, Bloke Masela was exiled in London, and Langston Hughes was in New York, Harlem. But whenever Bloke, as an exiled artist who did not have a job most of the time in London, whenever he was in trouble or whenever he needed someone to confide in or to share anything with, he would write to Langston. And one of the letters, he says, only you can hear me, you know. So the fact that someone who's across the oceans would understand him, for me, it told how close the relationship was. In fact, one of the letters resulted in a poem by Bloke Masela called Lonely. And it had such lines that it is for you that, I'm longing, or, it is you who can hear me. I know you can hear me, even though we're separated by the ocean.
As the voices of the past echo through these powerful new works, Siphiwo Mahala reminds us that stories are not just remembered, they are lived again. With The Missing Pages and Bloke and His American Bantu, two plays, history steps onto the page and the stage, offering us not only a window into the past, but a mirror for the present. It's a celebration of legacy, resilience, and the timeless power of words that heal, connect, and inspire. For SABC News, I'm Lunga Dlamini.